Each one of our cases is going to have my light stand nice and low to the ground. I don't want it so low that it's going to hit the ground, but I'm not going to go up like that because that's going to put the center of gravity higher on my light. The lower center of gravity of a light is, the safer it's going to be overall. And it should just ping into the back of your head. Oh, that's probably a lighting attachment point. I could attach a light there. If you have to get a stand really high, you do not want to take the stand and just crank it. Somebody hulk that. Just take it all the way up to the top of the arm, because you'll end up with a wobbly light at the top of that stand. If you've got to have it really tall, go ahead and go all the way up, but back it down about an inch. Without even thinking about it, put that weight that is off-center above a leg. Any off-center weight must go above a leg. It's the safest thing to do. Just remember, the nipple here needs to point away from the changing this bulb. I want to push this bulb out as far as it can so I can get my fingers down there. Again, I'll just take a bit of clean shirt tail. I'll grab the glass at the base of the ceramic and I'm going to wiggle it up and away from the socket. Bada bing, bada bang, it's out of there. Now, this is what I like to call an idiot socket. See how the pins are drastically different in size. This can be a little harder, but this is going to throw further. If I have to get a light that it shoots out as far as I can, as much throw as I can, I'm going to want this clear, smooth reflector. This reflector could probably increase the push of that light 7–12%. And that could really be substantial and help your day. We also have the golden reflector. Maybe you are wanting to film in the golden hour and you're starting too late, you're running too late, you don't have enough light yet, you're losing that light. You could use this to add some light to that scene without destroying that wonderful golden hue effect. Oops, wrong one. And again, putting it back in reverse, I'm just going to line up my holes, drop it in, take my clip ring, drop it in. Now I'm going to grab my bulb, give it another quick wipe off. I'm going to examine the socket to make sure I'm going to hold this right to put it back in right, because that ceramic base may catch at the edge of the reflector, and if it's not seated all the way, that's dangerous. You want to get that socket seated all the way in. Scrim for the Tota. It looks like a normal scrim that is all beat and bent to hell and back, but it's actually supposed to look this way. It just slots in between the barn doors. So now we have a scrimmed Tota light. There is an umbrella holder for both of these lamps, but I do not recommend using the umbrellas with the Omnis, because the Omnis have a spot feature. You could easily have this light spotted into the back of the umbrella and cook the umbrella. These things ain't cheap. Please don't cook our umbrellas. There is a way to turn this into a soft light without using an umbrella, and that is by using a gel frame. With this gel frame, I could just put some diffusion on it and drop it in front of this lamp and go straight through it to turn it into a softer light, rather than having to, with the umbrella, it would be a bounce in return. So for that to turn that into a soft, it's got to go here, bounce, and then go that way, doubling this distance. So that's going to make the light soft. It's going to decrease the intensity of that light. If you need a soft light from one of these guys, just go ahead and use the Omni. They're designed to use these. Now, incidentally, you'll see Omni lights used with umbrellas in professional photography all the flipping time. The main difference is, in those use cases, that's a flash bulb. These are designed to capture 60 frames a second, and that's going to cook things over time.
So you're saying you recommend not to use
an umbrella
on that. Okay.
Use the gel frame. Now, when you check out an umbrella from the equipment room, you probably want to open the umbrella in the room and just get a quick visual inspection. Are there any tears, rips, scorches, bent arms that don't necessarily impede the use of the umbrella? You just don't want to be blamed for it when you bring it back. If we give you a case that something is in, please return it in that case because that helps us keep things in good shape. Let's see some of that here in a second. I am going to turn some lights off. It does not change the nature of the light at all. It is not a gel. All it is doing is diminishing the intensity of that light a little bit. So there's my skin, and there's my skin under a scrim. It's diminishing the intensity of that just a little bit. And you can stack scrims to get multiple scrim effect. Let's see if we can do this. So you can see in the center, it's just a little bit darker than the surrounding areas. And I could do it with even more scrims. So, see, it's just really darker in that center area.
Are the scrims different colors?
No.
Oh, okay.
They do not change.
It's like reflecting.
They do not change the nature of the light. They do not add color. Okay. All they do is stop a little bit of the light. Okay. Now, the Omnis, these scrims will clip right onto the front, like so. But also with the Omnis, we have some that fit into the barn doors. Would you mind turning that light back on for me?
No, that one.
There you go. Right. So this barn door for the Omni has extra little vanes that are just there to give you a little bit more control over your light. Barn doors, lighting guys, we love barn doors. They help you control your light. Anything that helps us control our light, lighting guys like. But if you look closely around the edges of this, you'll see that there are notches in the back of these barn doors, and that's so we can put some additional scrims in. There are 2 levels where I could drop in a notch like so. And now I have a half scrim on this barn door, which would be on that light.
What are some examples of when you'd want a half scrim?
Well, we're definitely going to go into that, but it's if you're lighting 2 people of different complexions with the same lamp.
Okay.
So in that case, for instance, if I and this gentleman were on the same lit with the same light, I would want to cut down the amount of light hitting my pale reflective skin and give him full light. Just as a quick, easy rule of thumb.
I'm having problems with that on my show because the guy who's my co-host, he's pasty, you know. And
well, you either need ISO light, each person, ISO light them so you can individually adjust the light for individual people, or if they're sharing a light, a half scrim is something that can help out. And we'll use this later to show how to gel a light properly and not properly. Bending in this, which is bothering me. Okay, so that's it for the hot lights. Again, this is just a proxy. The old Lowel kit is the only one that's going to come with 4 lamps. It's the only one that's going to come with a total lamp. The new Lowel kits, well, for one, has wheels. You will come to love wheels in production. I have a bad back, so it's just like, I hate these heavy kits now. So the new Lowel kit has 3 Omnis. Okay. Oh geez, I skipped over some stuff. Hang on. A different pile. You asked about different colored scrims. Well, here's scrims that are framed in a different color.
Okay.
But as you'll see by looking at them closely, and y'all can hand these around, that they're different sized.
Okay.
One of them is a full scrim, the other one is a half. And I think that they rate those by f-stops. So I think if you drop a full scrim in, that's probably a full f-stop you're dropping it down.
Yeah. Like finer holes and wider holes, huh?
Handle, okay? And what is that little guy for? Well, it's for the flex arms. With that, I can drop a flex arm in and do things with it. Oh, what would I want, you know, with this funky piece of monkey business? Well, I'll tell you. Is I can take this arm and I can put a flag on it. It's a barn door that I can adjust off the light to help me. Oh my God, that's such a wonderful thing to have. Again, lighting is all about controlling your light. If you've lost control over the light in your set, you've lost control over your set. You've got to control your lighting because it can mean everything. So something beside the flex arm, I've got a reflector. And I will use this. Could I ask you to go turn that light off again? Thank you. I'm going to show you the soft side and the hard side. So here's the hard side bouncing up, right? And you see how it creates that very hard shadow around that beam, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over to the soft side. And so now look at the edges of that shadow now. Look how soft that is. So that's a really great example of hard soft and some of the effects that does. And so you could take this reflector.
What is that called?
This is a reflector.
Okay.
And again, if it's any kind of a bag or whatnot, please return it into it to help us keep it in good shape. We have some of these where the hard side have been trashed so much that the foil has completely been peeled off of it at this point in time. It'll still work, just not nearly as good as these guys. Here is a little Toda adapter. This little guy has those same mounting points on the side. This I could put on any lighting stand to give me those additional features. So I could use this with a mole kit, which is known for having a lot of spill coming out of the back of that light. And I could take my bendy flex arm and I could bounce that, spill into some, location that would be useful. Maybe onto a drapery, onto a plant, onto the draping of the table that they're on, the tablecloth, on a dock, anything else to give a little bit more interest on that stage. I could, maybe bounce some light in that direction. We also have some C-clamps that also have those attachment points. This C-clamp is multi-versatile in that it will go that way, it'll go the other way, or I could even flip it around, and now I've got a 1/4" 20 screw camera mounting point. And I can clamp this to anything that it will fit on. So, C-clamp. Now, perhaps I am doing this in somebody's efficiency apartment, and I'm trying to get a light, where that countertop kitchen table is, and it's just in the way, it's a problem. Well, I could use this to mount a light there, and maybe that light's just a little bit too low for what I'm doing. Well, I could give it just a little bit of a boost too. And it may not look like much, but sometimes when you're doing problem solving, the difference of a few degrees in the angle of the light and how it's hitting can be everything to solve that problem. If you're going into a location which is a terra incognita, And what I call terra incognita is a location you have not walked, that you have not walked with lighting set in mind. Because if you haven't, that's terra incognita. You've got no idea of the problems you're going to run into there. And in that case, I automatically am picking up extra gear in case I get into a tight spot. Well, here's a piece of extra gear that will help you in a tight spot. If you need to get a light over at that closet or bathroom door, here's our door hanger. Just make sure nobody's going in and out of that bathroom door or closet door while the light's up on it and hot.
It's nice.
But like I said, this is, you know, automatically something I'm going to put in my kit if I'm going in terra incognita, because it's just scary. Something else for terra incognita. The ground lifter. Look, 3 prongs.
What was the other one called? The last one? Is that a door?
Door hanger.
Door hanger.
3 prongs, 2 prongs. If you go to the trouble to get one of my heavy duty lighting cables out, and my heavy duty lighting cables that I have, I would feel confident jump starting a truck with them. These guys are 12, 13 gauge. They're going to take the power that I throw at it. But if you go into terra incognita, you find out, oh, the set that we're on, it doesn't have a ground. Please don't take a pair of pliers and break the ground pin off my expensive heavy-duty lighting cables. It cost me $5 to put a new end on it every time that happens. Just always have some ground lifters in your kit. That way, if you're in that situation, you can get out of it. And these guys are 57 cents a piece. And I recommend every filmmaker have one of these minimally in their kit, because this is going to help you solve audio buzz problems with a 60 cycle audio hum or a 60 cycle audio hum bar in your video. Plug this in, starting from the top of your chain, plug it in. Does the buzz go away? Nope, move to the next one. Nope, move to the next one. Nope, until you find it. The last one that got me like that, it was the projector that was causing an audio buzz into the signal. And until we ground lifted that sucker, there's just no getting around it. But that's what happens. You're gonna find on one of these drop ceilings, like in an office or something where they have that strapped ceiling. Well, this is a scissors clamp, and it'll just clamp to that metal strapping, and you just turn it and tighten it, and then now I've got a lighting attachment point attached to my ceiling. And the easiest way to run wires for this kind of stuff, say for instance I've got one of these back here right behind my head as a backlight. You don't want that wire just going straight down into my shot. You want to get the wire out of the shot. I recommend binder clips and paper clips. You can easily take a binder clip and go clamp onto that metal strapping, put one arm down, bend that paper clip into an S, now you got a cable holder. Easy, squeezy, nothing to do. This power block, this guy would easily support 2 hot lights on one of my heavy duty power cables. Easily. In theory, the circuit that you're on should be able to handle any 2 of our hot lamps. This depends what else is on that circuit currently. Is it the same circuit that's the kitchen's on? Is the microwave, the coffee machine, the toaster, anything else cycle on that circuit could, kill that breaker. I know more than enough musicians that have had amps blown out because the stage had an outlet that shared breaker with the kitchen and the ice machine. So you just don't know where. Hot lights, you could probably get by putting 2 hot lights into a power strip. If I was running longer than 30 minutes, I might want to feel it every so often as it get hot. If it was getting too hot, I would want to really give it time to cool off. You don't want to melt the solder that's inside. I think 3 hot lights in a power strip is probably a bad idea, much less as to you're going to throw that breaker. These guys out the way.
You're gonna feel the cable if it's getting hot? Is that what you're talking about? The extension cord?
Cable too.
Oh.
Cable
What were
too.
you talking about then?
I'm talking about the power strip.
Power strip, okay.
But same he's saying. If I was running two, lights into that cable because the block that I've got, and I'm running longer than 30 minutes, okay, at that point I would want to just check every so often. Is this feeling warm? If it's not feeling warm, I'm fine. If it's starting to feel warm after 30 minutes, like, okay, I may want to check this, another 10, another 20, just to see how is it holding up. Here is another handy dandy attachment. This is the beam clamp. Say you've got a buddy whose parents have a barn, and you want to go shoot a music video in their barn, and there's this giant beam you want to put a light on. Well, here's your beam clamp to do that. The softbox, or here it is. In lighting and video production, the nickname reigns supreme. For example, I'm sitting in an AppleBox. They haven't used AppleBoxes in the film industry since at least the 30s. But since they started with them as AppleBoxes, the name just stayed. In this case, this Lowel could be called a Lowel Rifa, a Lowel Chimera, but it pops out into a nice box. So we call this the soft box. Find the zipper. Make sure the cable is not wrapped around tightly here. You want to loosen this arm so that it swings freely. Note, this is our lighting stand mounting point. Is this going to be at all centered on the stand? Absolutely. Put this above a leg. So we got this out of the way. You might want to unscrew that a little bit. Pull our Velcro straps around. And give it a bit of a shake out. And now, here's something I never recommend in this case because it was designed to do this way. You pull in the cable to set up the And this is how you set up the softbox, is you just pop the pup tin out. And then you're going to get your diffuser. You're just going to unroll your diffuser and then put the corner tabs and the Velcro in. All the way around, and very quickly you're going to have a soft box. These guys are very tightly controlled by the amount of light that they let out. These guys have very, very little back spill. They're great lights for controlling the light on your set. If, say for instance, you two were on an interview set, like a Barbara Walters interview or something, and they pull out to a long shot, your backlight fill their key may be right here. It could be that close. Same way on the outside. You'll often see them that way with the lamps out there. They do great, but there's just so little room for any heat to escape. I can see on this one right here, there's scorching here from the heat trying to get out of this lamp.
You could literally fry an egg.
So here, I see scorching. I see scorching here because there is no place for this heat to go. So if you're using a hot lamp in these guys, you really want to control the amount of time that you're filming with. 30 minutes, okay, you getting into an hour, man, you are really starting to look at cooking our reflectors, and you can see there that this reflector has been scorched, and I can tell you that this is at least a $365 part, if not $475 part.
So,
when you are done with your reflector, please roll it up. In high school, we all learned the trick with a piece of paper to fold it a gazillion times, and then that paper would be able to easily separate on the half. Well, that's physics. The more you fold something, the more it's going to become brittle at that spot, which is why we do not want you to fold these, especially since these guys become heat stressed. Okay, if I heat stress something, heat up, cool it down, and fold it, oh, I guarantee you it is going to fail on that fold. I guarantee you. So, these guys we have kitted out with a bayonet socket that is replaceable. Okay, right now there's a hot bulb in this, but I can grab this as if it was a BNC, push, twist, lift. I pulled this guy out. I should have some. I have one now. I should have more whenever they get here. Oh God, the lead time's horrible. Which should take one of these and give me a single Edison socket in this. In this case, here's a triple head, giving you 3 Edison sockets, and each one of these has a switch, so you can turn them on and off individually. Okay. We also have some hideously expensive 80-watt Lowel compact fluorescent bulbs that are like that long. So you could take one of these guys in. Just now, again, what you're going to do is look at the bottom, make sure you're lined up, and then push in, twist. I'm locked in. Okay. So now I've got this guy swapped out, and I'm going to give you an example of the light and the fall off this would give you from the Lowel fluorescents. Honestly, even with all 3 Lowel fluorescents, it is a little bit anemic as far as the distance the light will go. But I'll give you an example, and if I had this guy up, because we just don't have time to fire up all the lights. So let's just say that this was on, right, with all 3 bulbs, and it's lighting up me, the pale white glow. If somebody has more complexion than me, they're going to need to be a step or 2 closer. So, really, that's about it. I'm not going to be able to go any further back than that with that soft front on and those Lowel bulbs. If I turn one of those bulbs off, I need to be this much closer. If I turn one more of those bulbs off, I need to be this much closer. But that's how much the distance decreases every time I turn one of those guys off. So they're nice little lights, and I hope to do more with them. In fact, I have some new adapters in. This is a 4-to-1 head, which we should be able to put on those guys. I've got a number of these. And then this is a LED bulb. And this is only 100 watt. I hope to get some more powerful ones, some 150s. And I'll pass that around. That is a Cree LED. You can get those right now at Home Depot for about $5 to $8 for a 100 watt. And you cannot beat that with a stick. I absolutely recommend that for supplementary auxiliary light that everybody get some kind of a 6-8-inch can, because you can get this for $6 to $8. You can get that for $5 to $8, and you can use a $253 reflector, not reflector, dimmer. A cheap ass lamp dimmer will dim these guys beautifully. It's in there on the last sheet at the very top, Cree, capital C-R-E-E. And they are using a CRI, color rendering index. In the video, we want a CRI of 90 or better. 86 is pretty darn close to 90 for being $5 to $8. So, we're going to put this down here for a moment.
That's what Robert used on the movie El Mariachi. Some cheap lights like that. Yep.
$7,000.
Okay. So, They're anemic. They do not have nearly the throw that I think they should, which is why they've been discontinued. But I think that these guys are going to do yeoman's work in a small interview, right? Where you're just going to have people really close together. I just Friday finally got ordered, after many tries, a battery bracket which will take a V-brick battery and power these guys,
nice.
Making these more portable, which means these are going to be amazing for shooting inside of a car. Amazing. Jesus wood. And I'll scoot that way if I have to. Now, these are one of the cases that didn't come with stands, and I didn't find out about it till we got them. And so I've strapped 2 stands to these cases so they at least have some light, some with them. But I also got some additional lighting attachment points, and I'll show you those in a second. So we got barn doors on them, give you some control. But all the way around the back, these are 1/4" 20 screw threads, so that I can attach this to something. And these light stands have at the top an unscrewable rubber tip, which is a 1/4" 20 that I can screw into this. So here, here, here. These guys are 2-inch kit, will attach to a light stand, to our standard light stand socket, and so I could attach those. In fact, I could use one light stand to attach 2 of these easily. I've also got a C-clamp with some 1/4" 20 all thread in it, and then that would also mount one of these lamps. Now the power cable for this is this blue Pecan power cable to my left, and it is also a twist lock. And so what I'm just going to do is I'm going to take it, line it up, twist it, and you heard it lock in. It's a twist lock. And this is a good time to point out that any cable that has a lock is a professional cable. Base rule of thumb. If it locks, it's a professional cable. BNC cable, it's got a lock on it. Professional cable. RCA cable. XLR cable. Professional cable, it's got a lock. 1/4" jack, not really. But just a base rule of thumb. All right. Another wonderful feature of these guys is I've got nice controls for all of my lights. And so there's my light at maximum dim. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this light all the way up, have Jesus stand at the back of the room, and look at the distance that I'm lit up with this light. And so you'll get an idea of how not very powerful it is. But let's see, I'm going to crank it all the way. All the way. I am all the way high right now, Jesus. If you hit that.
Am I going to burn myself?
Nope. It's LED.
Oh.
All right. So I'm going to go back to that first distance point over here. Oh, geez. Let's kill this light, because that's not a good test yet. Okay. And if you would turn that off briefly so you can see the light on the skin, because that's what I'm
Oh,
supposed to do.
I forgot that was on.
So see how much light's hitting me? This is not really enough light. You know, for me to be lit up with that light. Maybe just about. You know, if I irised a little bit, and you might want to need to move over here to see the effect.
Sorry.
And again, if it was somebody with a darker complexion skin, they would want to be a step closer than I am. Right? Here, I'm in decent light. I'm probably just fine. So you see just how close you would have to be with that, to that light, to actually do something with it. You can't use this light across the room. You've got to be, within 6, 8, 10 feet of that talent person. And the darker their complexion, the closer that light's going to have to be. But
Is that a good one for Studio 3?
if I crank it down, look, I can crank it all the way down to that. But I can't go any lower than this. That's the minimum the light will support and stay on. And it really doesn't matter as far as a studio light or not. It's really for close lighting. So the closer you are, the better.
Yeah, we wear hats, and I think maybe that one, like under the desk facing up, might be a good light.
And then you get into uplighting issues, but we'll talk more about angles. All right. Kill it.
Need.
Yes and maybe. All the stuff that I showed you in individual bits and pieces and ones and twosies is all individual stuff you'll have to ask for. And it never hurts to, try and explain to the equipment room person, hey, I'm trying to do this. What would I need? And maybe they could help you out with some recommendations.
Tomorrow I'm filming a symphony orchestra. I'm going to be in the back of the auditorium. And you're shaking your head now.
That is auditorium lighting, man.
Yeah.
That's auditorium lighting. There's not a lot you're going to be able to do there.
Right. Well,
Dracast, here it is. Is it behind me? This is one of our 1x1 battery-powered lights. It only has a battery on it right now, so that I'm ready for the class. It does have a power supply, which we won't even cover because it's just plugging a light in. This light has a wonderful set of barn doors. It's a great aluminum construction. And this light is on with battery. And I can see, yes. So this is a great example. Sometimes these guys are just old enough at this point in time that oxidization is starting to have a problem with the battery contacts. As I like to say, oxygen is both the giver of life and the destroyer. All metals oxidize. Oxidization is that layer of resistance that keeps your car from starting till you go out and wiggle the battery terminals. Okay, that's oxidization. In this case, it's on, no light. Wiggling the battery, getting a cleaner contact, that light comes on. Okay, and so I need to go in here and clean these contacts on this guy so this light will stay on. You can see that right now it is at 3200 Kelvin. It is a really warm light. Okay. I can crank it all the way over. Hey, that's on off. Now it's a very cool light. Now we're pushing daylight. Okay, this is a bi-color light that I can go in either one of those directions. But let's get it just on. All right. I last showed you it was daylight. You can see that every other row of LEDs is lit up. This is not the ideal way of doing this. If I have to go distance with this, that every other row of illumination could cause a little bit of striation of a little bit warmer, a little bit darker at distance, like maybe here to that corner. So if I have to go a distance with one of these guys, I might reach out to an intermediary color of about 4000 Kelvin. Come on. Where are you? Okay. I have to turn this on higher. There we go. So now you can see all of the bulbs are lit up. And that's going to give me twice as much oomph in throw that I would have had with only one of the rows lit up. Okay? And if I'm adding all lights to that scene and I'm color balancing anyway, I might as well use an intermediary color temperature that's a little bit warmer than daylight as my go-to to just try and get that distance that I need. Okay. Now I could put diffusion on the front of it to try and, you know, soften out that change between this row on, this row off, this row on, this row off. But whenever I do that, I'm also limiting the push that that light's going to have through that diffusion. This is really if I'm trying to just really push distance with this guy. Other than that, there's really not much else to go over this guy. It's got the lovely rheostat on it, you know, which lighting guys love. Helps us control our light. So we're just going to go ahead and put this guy up. Always a good idea to test these before you take them out and find out if the battery plate combination needs a little
Cleaning.
cleaning because it's gotten a little bit corroded.
Are more of the lights going to come that way with batteries?
Hey, what's going on here? Why don't you let go? Okay, for some reason, it's jammed in here real good.
So how does the brightness of that one compare to the hot lamps?
Nothing's going to compete with hot lamps.
Okay.
Almost nothing is going to compete with hot lamps. See that big can in the back of the room? That baby's going to throw usable light 80 feet. Oh yeah. So, it really depends. But most, you know, LED lights are, there's no way.
The key light, you could use that to replace the blue jet for color correction. You know when
You wouldn't need to use color correction because you could have a light that was daylight already.
Right.
Right. This is another one of our battery-powered lights. This is a Frezzi light, and we normally have them with an on-camera attachment that would attach to any camera that has a handle. But I've made some adjustments to a couple of these so that they're more useful, more versatile. Right now, I've got two that has a camera hot shoe. This light could sit on top of a camera, no problems. If I wanted to, I could unscrew this camera hot screw. Here's a tongue twister I wasn't expecting. Oh, it's not immediately unscrewing, but if I left this portion on, this part could be mounted onto a C-stand. And then I could put this light up on a C-stand and have it be a backlight or something. Honestly, as on-camera lights or supplemental lights or background lights are really some of their best use cases. Especially since I have gone through and taken the bulk of these LED. And back on the 20-year-old batteries we had, one of these guys with a hot lamp would run about 20 minutes. Last 5 minutes and that'd be ugly, ugly yellow power. One of the new LEDs on the 20-year-old battery, 2.5 hours. On one of the brain spanking new batteries we have, 24 hours. This light could be on and giving usable light. That is just jaw-dropping, flabbergasting. You mean I could set up the light for my set and then go on lunch break and come back and not turn it off? Wow. The capabilities here are just some neat stuff. And we do happen to have a car adapter that you can power one of these guys off of easy enough. I just threw it in here since it shipped to the top of all that. But on this guy, if it's too hot for your talent, really you don't have a lot of recourse. All you could do is maybe put some diffusion on here, move the light further away from your talent, move the talent a little bit further away. But it's just on and off hot in intensity. So there's really no adjustment you can do there. But we do have one that has some adjustment capabilities. And this is the LED light panel on camera light. This guy, oh, it's too bright for my talent. They don't like it. Okay, how about, oh, that's better. It has a rheostat. You can adjust this light. It's marvelous. This is a daylight color temperature light. This is perfect for doing an outside in the sun, man on the street interview, and you just want to bounce some additional sunlight into that person's face or get some additional light into the shadows on their face. This is a great light for that. Again, it's not going to have a huge amount of distance that you can throw, but let's see, you can see the effect on that wall from where I'm at, so that's doing a decent amount of light. Another nice feature of these guys is you can refill these from the 7-Eleven. We do have a little piece of diffusion and a little piece of color correction in the kits, so that if I wanted to take this, more incandescent, I could drop this filter into the front and cut down this blue so that it's more incandescent. Or if I wanted to soften up these multi-bulbs, I could put the diffuser in. Somewhat available field and somewhat not. These are some uplights, which do a good job of throwing light. That is a battery pack light, and it says that the batteries will run for 8 hours. If you want to go ahead and kill that. So that's throwing a fair amount of light out. It really is. That's not doing bad. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this other. Now this is a light bar. And let me turn the other one off so you can kind of see the difference. So not nearly as strong, but it's got a bunch of other color type options. This light bar is one of the 2 light bars that we have that are battery capable. Go ahead and give me my house lights back. So I've got 2 of these that are like this that are battery capable. They can't go out in the field just yet. I need to get a case ordered for them. But after that, they will be field capable. I have 2 sets like this without battery capability that can go into the field. So 1 bag with 2 of these can go out into the field. I'm going to have with that power daisy chain for 12 feet, so you could put 1 power cable in and daisy chain your 2 lights. It had easy daisy chain master slave set up so I can run 1 XLR cable from one of these instead of just the master, set the other as a slave, and then just run both of them off of one to set my dual lighting. So that's going to be the case between all of these, whether it's the battery pack ones or whether it's the 2 kits that I have set up that are not battery pack. And there should be a manual in that kit and also a small remote. This guy has some additional features, which is this base. This base will fold out and allow you to kick this light and angle it a little bit. But please never force anything. In the world of electronics or production, forcing something is almost always the wrong idea. Last weekend I had to take one of these guys apart because somebody had slammed the stand into the ground trying to get it to close. And they mucked it up inside. And it's just, hold the lever down. That's it. And what they ended up doing was stripping some of the teeth off so it won't quite hold the same angles as the others will. But these guys are great. They're heavy. I have 6 of them in a case that is a rolling charging case that could go into the field, but that case is like 100, 120 pounds. That is not an easy case to get into the back seat of a vehicle and whatnot. So, or stuff. Well, we talked about AppleBoxes. Hey, look, it's an AppleBox. Well, what's an AppleBox for? Well, really, you're only limited by your imagination. And AppleBox is there to lift things up somewhat. And so I have used them to extend out the end of the stage because we couldn't fit the giant coffee table on the stage. And so we put the coffee table legs underneath the AppleBox, and we put a giant carpet out and made it look like the stage was extended. We just made damn good well and certain that no one ever approached that stage or tried to leave it from that angle, because they would have gone whoop, right through that carpet, because it was an illusion. AppleBoxes. Another handy dandy use is, what if you were interviewing somebody with a drastic height difference? Maybe you're interviewing a pair of artists and the gentleman is like 6'6" and the lady is 5'4". Well, he's going to have his chin in his chest and she's going to be looking up like that. That looks horrible on video. What do you do? Well, if you had an AppleBox, you could have the shorter person stand on the AppleBox. They do it in Hollywood all the time. We just don't see it because the camera doesn't see it. What do you do if you don't happen to have an AppleBox to fix that problem? Film them seated. If you film them seated, it will have the apparent difference in height between them. Just a little, I've done it. Just a handy dandy trick to help you get through these circumstances. Okay, let's look at some reflectors. One lovely reflector here. And I want to show you, my other lovely reflector. Yes, I need my light back on. And, all right. I'm going to show you the big brother of the reflector that I showed you earlier for the effect. And again, if there's some kind of a case, please return it to the case to help us keep it in good repair. Okay, somebody's played some sort of cruel joke on me. It's been taped shut. This is not right. However that turn of the phrase turns. And let's just have an example here. And bounce the plane. So, this is the soft side. Let's do the hard side first. Right, so there's my hard side. You can see that much bigger surface area. Alright. And you can see the little spot in the center, which is our stand. This is our mount. So this mount can be flipped to either side for whichever side you want to have out and reflect. So let's show the soft side by comparison. Look at that. You cannot hardly tell where the crossbeam is. You can't hardly tell where the crossbeam is. That's soft. This is 4 times the size of the other reflector that we looked at earlier. So there's more soft. There's almost 4 times the soft. Let's get back up. And I want to show you the very, very special one that is different from all the others. Okay, so we have a flat matte side to suck up some light. We have our silvered side or hard side for when we want to bounce sunlight. There is a slip cover around the edge of this. Now I like to put my finger underneath to try and protect it when I'm zipping it open and closing it. And we have a white side, which is our soft side. And then over here, we have our golden reflector side. And we've got at least 3 or 4 that are very, very similar to this as far as with slipcover and additional features. Now, one additional thing this has is this center portion can be used as a diffuser or as a solar screen. And something that this guy can do is, well, I can take that solar screen and I can hold it up with one handle above somebody. So that if, for instance, I have talent that is standing in the broken shade, a broken light of a tree. Okay? That's very hard to film because I've got full light, I've got shadowed light, full light, shadowed light, all on a spot on a person's face. That can look bad. Well, with the solar screen, I can have the difference between the two and bring it closer to the center so it's much more filmable. And this is a 3/4 16 screw thread. Okay? With this, I can use various attachments. So I could take this and I could actually attach this to a fish pole. And if I attach this to a fish pole, then I can put my fish pole above the guy's head with my solar screen, helping that light difference. In a pinch, that is an amazing feature to have when you run into one of those circumstances.
A fishbowl?
A fish pole. It's an audio device.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
If you're reflecting the sun, I guess you're constantly like adjusting for the change
if
in
you're
angle.
watching, where's my light hitting?
How do you use the gold? There's like some inside the gold and the inside. You have to like.
So go for the magic hour?
It's a slip-on cover. I just unzip the whole thing and put it and flip it the other way.
Okay.
It's a gold for the magic hour type of.
If I'm shooting too early and not enough dusk has happened yet,
So do you reflect some light on
or
it?
I'm running too late and the sun is really starting to come up and I'm losing that. I still need to get some magic-y gold.
So you
That's
reflect the sunlight on that gold?
Yeah. To try and maintain that gold that we're getting.
Gotcha.
Now, we do have some other stuff that's really taught in grips and rigs, but I will give you a quick heads up on it. Arm attachment that will take one of these and allow you to hold it and set it on a light stand. So that's one of these guys. It's got a clamp here, and it should have another clamp up here, but somebody has lost that, so I'm just using this for teaching at the moment. And the main rule of thumbs, if you're going to use one of these types of guys to hold a reflector, is you want to get this arm out as far out as needed to clamp on opposite sides. You want to absolutely be opposite here and here, and you want to center that up, okay? And then you want any weight of this to lay on that arm. You don't want that arm holding it and trying to hold it and it's bending this way away from it. You want the weight to lay on the arm. And if you do that, it will actually hold and stay in that angle you've got it. Okay? So that's why you pay attention to how it's doing that. But they'll go over more of that with the grips and rings class. I just want to show it to you really briefly. Putting these flex fills away. Very simple procedure to remember. Alright? What you can do is you're going to take one wrist and bend it up, one wrist and bend it down. And when you do so, you're going to collapse it towards your chest while wiggling. So I'm going to take my right wrist and bend it up. See my figure eight? Just sort of collapse it in. That wasn't very hard, was it?
Magic.
So it's just like your car window reflectors, except much more expensive.
Can you use a car window reflector if you don't have that?
Yes.
Only if you're on a $7,000 budget.
Anything that reflects light in a usable area, use it. Anything. And we'll get into that when we start getting into the field.
There's people that put tinfoil around like a piece of cardboard.
Yeah, unless that tinfoil is very flat,
Yeah.
the crinkling is going to give you weird effects. Okay, we should review the safety items we've gone over really quick. We talked about light stands low to the ground, no max extension, cord under the leg, sandbags, wind. Wind is something to talk about. Does any of the kit you're setting up look like a sail? If so, Mother Nature says it's a sail. And she's going to bite you in the ass so hard when you are not looking. I was filming with one of these Lowel reflectors downtown in an alcove we thought was out of the way of the wind. We were filming a proclamation with the mayor. And of course, Mother Nature proved me wrong. That alcove's not out of the wind. I'll prove you wrong. It went over. I was embarrassed. If it looks like a sail, ecto facto, it's a sail. Okay? You need to take extra precautions if it can be considered a sail. Wire memory. Wire memory, all wire has a memory of the last way the wire was coiled. You want to coil wire back up so that it is following its previous memory. If you are forcing a wire into a new memory, you are shortening the lifespan of the wire over time. And that's why anybody who has, a little power brick for their laptop or something, and they just wrap it around that power brick, oh, that wire's going to break right where it comes out of that power brick. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually it's going to break, and it's going to break right there, okay? Respect the memory of a wire. Try and find the memory of the wire. And I can roll my fingers with a smaller wire, or with a fatter wire. I can use a different technique. See, I'm just using the memory that's already there instead of making a new one. Now, if let's see, what I'm going to want to do is a twisting motion like this or like this will help this wire flip. After that, you really want to do a couple tests really quickly. The first thing is the tap test. You should be able to tap with the back of your finger that lamp that was hot previously after you've had a good 5-10 minutes putting away stuff. Is it cool enough to put away? Well, on the tap test, does the hair on the back of your fingers or your skin stick to the metal? If your skin is sticking to the metal or in cooking, it would be bad. Your hair scorching means it's hot enough to do that. That's also bad. No more testing. Give it another 5-10 minutes. If it passes that test, you can do what I call the 3-second rule. And you put your finger on there and go 1, 2, 3. If it's still pretty hot, but you can leave your finger there, that lamp is more than cool enough to put away. If you gotta pull your finger off before 3 seconds are up, oh my God, that's a little hot. That lamp is not cool enough to be put in a case. So 3-second rule. Always remember the tap test first. And if your flesh is at all sticking, that's it cooking to the metal. No more testing. Mm-hmm. But you really, really, really want to respect the heat that comes from these guys as hot lamps. And you want to leave a heat zone around any given hot lamp to let heat escape. So, when you leave a good hand span left and right, below, behind, maybe a double hand span above. Nothing in the beam that is not specifically formulated to be heat resistant. I've had power cables in the lighting grid that got hung in the beam of light, and I've had to separate them with a hammer because they fused together. And if you still doubt at all how dangerous these lights are, because really, these lights get hot. They get amazingly hot. They will melt holes in couches. They will melt paint. They will burn holes in couches. They will set curtains on fire. Go look up the melting temperature of aluminum. It's over 620 degrees. This has been burned through by the power of the heat coming off a lamp. Respect the heat from these hot lamps. And that was only a 500 watt bulb. Now, on that note, you may not realize this, but with incandescent lighting, 90% of that heat is wasted and it is not light. So if you've got a 100 watt light bulb, you're only getting 10 watts of illumination. You are burning 90 watts of heat. And this is why I recommend everybody go over to LED in your home, because if you have LED inside the house, you're not having to remove the additional heat from the lamp. from inside the house. Okay? Alright, okay, where are we at? We are at 5:33. We're not doing too bad. We got a half hour to go over everything else. We are actually doing a little bad. Okay, let's talk about some other field stuff in other production notes. You want to bounce to the dominant light color on your scene, whatever that dominant light color may be. And there is a big bay window in the back of that office. Unless you're shooting at night or it's incredibly overcast, odds are that big bay window is the dominant light source, the dominant type of light on the scene. Any lights you add to supplement that, you're going to want to color balance those lights to match the dominant light source. In this case, you would use a mild color correcting blue for your inside lights to match that daylight coming in. Outside versus inside. Fighting using the sun. It's hide the sky or let the light fly. If you were filming outside and the sky is in your shot at all, and unless it's at night or incredibly overcast, that sky is the brightest thing in your frame unless you have light bouncing off chrome or glass. It's just so bright. Do whatever you can to reduce the amount of sky showing in your image. Maybe there's a tree in the corner of the field, and if you are not locked in, my camera has to be here, pointed this thing, my talent has to be here, it has to be, maybe you can have your talent over in front of this tree, and the tree will act as a giant scrim to the sky, decreasing the intensity of that sky, helping you bring your contrast ratios. Maybe there's a tree line in the back of that field, and maybe you can have your talent film seated, using forced perspective to increase the height of the tree line in the back of the field, hiding more of the sky, bringing your contrast ratios in. But do anything you can to bounce some light into the shadows of somebody that is in full daylight. I cannot tell you the number of times I've seen somebody filming outside. It's like, oh my God, was there nobody standing around nearby with even a white t-shirt or a piece of paper, something to help this look better? Let me show you the importance of bounce. Let's see, I'm going to have to put my face in the light, and then everybody's going to have to be, okay, this sort of works. Jesus, you probably have an idea, but you need to kind of see the dark side of my face here. Go a little further here. Okay, so really reasonably dark. I'm getting a little bit of bounce off of people's papers, but watch what happens when I do this. This is an anemic reflector. This is one of the most anemic reflectors you're going to have in your hand. Let's try a slightly better one, shall we? Yeah? This is the power a reflector has and what it can do for you in the sun. Never doubt what bounced sunlight can do for you when you are filming in full light. You've got to get some light into those shadows to help bring that contrast ratio closer together. Use a car window shade. Use a sheet that you threw in the back of the trunk. Use somebody's t-shirt. It doesn't matter. Get some light into those shadows. I guarantee you that shot's going to look better. Let's see. Let's do some bounce light examples. Bright sky background. How do you change hard sunlight to soft light? So you don't have a bounce, right? And the sun is just so uncontrollable. How do I turn the sunlight into a soft light? Well, this is a simple little trick. Move fully into the shade. Now, instead of all that light coming from that single pinprick of light in the sky, I'm over here in the shade. Now the rest of my sky is my illumination source, thereby turning that hard sunlight into soft light by just changing where the talent was in reflection to that light strip.
Brian,
Yeah.
it's okay. So moving to a shade, or can you create a shade?
Yeah.
If we're
Same you see.
Okay.
So really move move the lights, move the background. Something to get that closer in. Get some light into that shaded areas. You've got to do it. Your shot's gonna look so much better. Here's another trick. You can use a warmer light for a backlight, especially if you're filming in daylight color temperatures. Right? If you were set up for a daylight color temperature and you've got, say, a hot light or a 3200 Kelvin light or some other variable light that you could put as a backlight, that can be quite attractive. 32, if you're shooting in daylight, is a little bit too orange. Okay, I would say a cool color. There's cold white light, which is sunlight. There's warm white light, which is 3200 Kelvin or incandescent. And then there's about 4000 Kelvin. It's cool white light. If you're filming in daylight color temperature and you put a cool white light in the background, you will give just a slight amount of warmth to them. And that is a very attractive, very, very simple way of doing that. Tips and tricks, blackout foil, and its many examples. What is blackout foil? Well, blackout foil is essentially just a barn door that you can attach with clothespins. So let's out here. Pass this around. Blackout foil is a handy dandy tool that I have used almost every single time since I have discovered it. Why? It's clothespins barn doors you can attach with clothespins. Oh my God, how could you not love that as a lighting guide? Anything that helps you control your light, eh? But here's an example of what you could do with blackout foil. Is say I was filming a band, okay? And if a band is out and say I've got one light just bathing the entire set in an exceedingly even light, and then the guitar player comes out, his hands are going to look pale and skeletal. Why? Musicians don't go out in the sun. But if he's a white guy, his hands are going to look pale and skeletal by comparison to all the other parts of his skin. And it's a problem. I could take a strip of blackout foil, roll it up, stretch it across the center of that light, and it's going to hit the top, bend, get a little darker, get a little darker. It's going to hit the bottom, bend, get a little darker, get a little darker, get a little darker. So I'm going to have a band that's just a little bit darker than the surrounding areas. And I could put that where his hands are going to be, and then completely solve the problem. It's just knowing the light physics and where your problems are and how to try and use the lighting and the physics of that lighting to solve those problems. I could do the same thing with a strip of ND gel. This has had some color cooked out of it. It's not supposed to look like that. ND or smoke gel is just there to cut a certain percentage of the light out. And a smoke gel or ND is rated by the amount of light it lets through. This is probably about a 30% ND because it's only letting maybe 30% of that light through. You can actually use colored light to decrease the reflectivity of a white light. Because of the way color physics works, we all learn in grade school that when we see an apple, that red of the apple, every other wavelength is being absorbed, okay? Well, that's part of color and the color reflectivity physics. If you understand that, you can use that as a trick. I was filming something here with a band, and I had a lighting guy nightmare walk in. I had 7 band members. 5 of them were just primarily in white. There was a giant white, larger than man-sized puppet on the set. There was a giant white tarp on the set to catch the blood packs. Oh my God, what was I gonna do to try and bring this back into something manageable? Well, because I understood light physics and how light worked and reflectivity worked, I knew that if I shaded white with another color, instead of reflecting the full spectrum of white, now it's reflecting more of that color that it's been shaded with. I had a big magenta gel set up in a 2K in the corner. I bathed that entire set in the magenta light, and instead of now reflecting this full spectrum of white, now it's reflecting this white magenta, decreasing the reflectivity by adding light. And it seems really counterintuitive, but it's color physics, and it's understanding that color physics that allowed me to add light and decrease reflectivity at the same time. You really, 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 really want to look at the eyes. The eyes will tell you the story. And this class isn't so an end-all for your lighting experience. It's really to kind of open your eyes up to what's out there and to see things and to start seeing things in light. I really recommend that you start watching, some movies and watch them on a laptop where you can hit the pause button, take snapshots, look in the eye, draw an X in the center of that eye. Is it above or below the horizontal line? Okay, the light's more up than down. Is it left or right? Then it's more left or right of the nose. That eye, it's a glass ball. That glass ball, that eye, with the reflectivity of what is showing in that eye, will tell you the story of the set of where are the lights that they're using. And you can look in that eye and go, I can tell from this light's over here, and I think this other one's over here. Between that and the nose shadow and the chin shadow, you can tell where those lights are. So look at the eyes, they really tell you the story. Glasses and reflections, this is something that I've added to the class. Well, you could use a polarizing filter to get rid of glasses reflections.
On the lens.
Is one thing. A polarizing filter on the camera. But if you have no polarizing filter, well, if, say, this is, right, me, glasses, reflection, right? But if I lift up the back a little bit, those reflections should be minimized. And it's just a simple trick to help reduce glasses reflections. Now, of course, if your talent is one of those that's a swayer who's leaning back in his chair, you are not going to be able to get rid of those with anything but a polarizing filter, maybe. But that's just some other tricks that you can use to help get things closer in. Power drains. Know where your circuit breakers are. No shared walls. If I'm in here and I'm filming in this set, I'll get 2 lights set up in this room and I need to get a third light set in for my 3-point lighting. Just don't take your extension cord, walk down the hallway into the next room and plug into a shared wall. Shared walls often share circuit breakers. Don't do it. Go further afield. Go much further afield if you have to. If you don't know where the circuit breakers are, go greatly further afield, because you do not want to accidentally, flip off a breaker if you don't know where the breakers are in the building. When you light a set, you really want to include the light for all the angles that you're using. A great example of that is Stripes, the motor pool scene, is they didn't individually light each of those bits. They lit the scene and made sure that, okay, there's going to be a thing here. Okay, that's lit. There's going to be a thing over here. Okay, that's lit. And then when they shot it, they could just roll through those without, okay, actors, take 30. We're going to have to move some lights around. You're just slowing people down. If you're lighting a bunch of stuff that's close to each other, a bunch of scenes that are really tight together, light the whole scene, not just the individual of the one piece that you're doing. You want to coordinate as much as possible with your director, lighting director, director of photography, your lead grip. If you've got enough gear, you can work a couple sets in advance. But if we were filming in this living room, right, and they're done and they're now at the front porch, well, you need to know what angles they're using, because if they're filming towards that front porch and that window is open just a little bit on the screen, you can get a shot of me breaking cables down in that room. Don't bust their shot. It's happened to me. Know the angles they're going to be using. But if you've got enough kit, if you've got extra bits and pieces of kit like these LEDs and other stuff, that, okay, I've got my 2 lights in the room, I've got some ambient light filling my third, I can go off to the next set in the house that we're going to use and start working on it. That can be a huge time saver. Huge. Another thing as far as skin, people's skin. Lighting for effect, lighting characters. We talked about dead eyes, but there is a story, I think I've got it in the examples. There is a series called Once Upon a Time, and it's a storybook stuff where characters with good and evil, and you've got characters that used to be evil, they're trying to be good. And remember in the video where I said, see this, the light in the face? We'll come back to it. We're coming back to it right now. So here, perfect light on the face, right? Here, perfect light on the face. All right, well, for one, I'm pushing the gel in closer to the light. I'm much more likely to cook the color out of it. I'm going to cause a heat crease here and here. There's less room for the heat to escape. If I do it this way, catty corner on the outside, I'm not going to cause a heat crease. The gel is going away from the light. There's more room for the heat to escape. I'm less likely to cook the color out of this gel. So that's the right way to gel any given light. And if you use catty corner clothespins like that, you can put any gel on it up into the limits of it's slightly larger than the barn doors you have open. If I really wanted to get this stupidly wide, I would need a bigger gel to do it. But this one's stupidly long, so I could use this kind of problem. Any other questions about things that y'all are fighting and having problems with?
Shouldn't wait till we need the light to do a shoot to learn. We should take the lights out and just play with the lights.
Practice within the next 2 weeks. If you don't touch this knowledge in 2 weeks, you're going to lose it all.